Hello everyone and welcome back, and in this lesson we're going to talk about groups and how to sort shapes using Opentoonz. So I'll create a new vector level. So I'll go to level, new, and I'll create a new vector level and I'll hit OK. So now that I have that level, let's go ahead and create some shapes. Now what I want you to notice is if you go to the geometry tools, you can actually see this auto group checked. Let's uncheck that. I'll just draw a shape, or let me just use a regular shape like a rectangle, and I'll draw another rectangle, and I'll just fill these with some colors just to differentiate them. So I created two palettes and I go to the fill tool and boop, and here I fill this one with the green tool. Now if we click on this shape and drag it over here, we can't really tell what's going on here because they're sort of overlapping. Now here's another thing I also want you to notice. If when we're creating a shape, if we go over here and create this shape, I'll just use the default color here to create this shape, and we create another shape and create another one inside. By the time we're filling them, so I fill this shape, fill this with this shape, we can actually see how what's actually happening right now, because this shape is actually looking at this first one we created and it's masking and putting every shape in here. So because this is not connected here, it's actually not going to be filled. The problem is when we move this shape now, everything is going to just break like that, and we can place this here and it's giving us very scary and weird results. And you can see it's actually taking the color of this shape. So also, how can we tell which shape is sorted? For example, let me just fill this here. How can we tell this sorting, which one is in front and which one is in the back? Now we can solve that issue by creating a new column. So I'll just create a new vector level and hit OK. Now this is on top. If I create a new shape like that and fill that shape, already we know because this vector level is above this one, because it's the earliest one we created, you actually see the green one is going to be at the bottom, this is going to be at the bottom, and this is going to be at the top. In fact, we can't even select this one because it's on a different layer. So if I go back here, you can actually see this is on a different layer, and we can just move that around. And we go back here, this is always at the top. So one way to solve that problem is to group objects, and you don't really necessarily need to create multiple levels, because what will happen is you're going to have a lot of vector levels and it's going to be difficult to manage. One way to solve that is to group objects, and this is how this is done. So let's go here, let's do Ctrl A and let's delete. Let's get back to this level, select everything and delete it as well, and let's delete this column because we don't need this column anymore. To delete the column, I just select the column and hit delete, not on the timeline but on the column name itself. So here what we're going to do is to click on the shape tool, but here you can see auto group. Let's click on auto group. So what this means is automatically it's going to group every drawing as a separate entity that has its own group. In case it's not grouped, let me just show you the example. In case the object is not grouped, let's say we have this shape and we have a fill and it has a green fill, and this object is not grouped. You can actually see that. To group it, let's select the object and press Ctrl G. Now if we select the object, we should see a green, there's a blue outline around that shape. That just tells you that object is grouped like that. Whoops, sorry. Just want to select this, or we can right click, and yeah, so you see it's telling us to exit the group or on group. So Control G will actually group the object. So this is part of a group like that. So let's create another shape, and I'll just use a different fill like that. I'll create this shape like that, and I'll fill this with a red just to fill the areas. And now if I drag this is not actually grouped. So sorry, this is grouped because we actually see the outline is green like that, blue. So this is actually grouped. So what we can do now is to lay objects around. So here, if this is here, we can go into a grouped object. So let's just place this over here and drag this over here. So what I'm doing is I'm using Alt and the angle brackets to put an object in the front or push the object to the back like that. And one way to automatically group is to turn on the auto group button. So with auto group, if we have a shape and say we have another shape, each of these are separate groups. So if I select this is a group and this is a group as well. Let's move this around, and this is a group. And to go into a group, we can double click to enter a group. And to exit the group, we just double click to exit that group. So here we isolated this object and we're in this group already. So let's exit and get rid of everything and just look at that example. So here we have a rectangle shape, and I'll just fill this with the same color. And here we have another, let's use the yellow and fill this with the same color. Now these are two separate groups. So I can place this here. This is in front. If I select this object and hold Control and the angle key, it's now behind. So we have this object behind. If I draw another shape, so let's use this red here, and let's fill it with the same color and bring it over here. So with this shape selected, I can hold Control and angle again. So now I have this in front, this is in front, this is in between, and this is at the back. And that's possible because we've grouped these objects together. Now what that means is, if I have another shape, so let me create a rectangle shape. It's actually there, but it's not filled, so we can't see it. So now I can select both of these shapes, this one and this one. So I'll select both of them and do Ctrl G to group them together. So now they are part of the same group. So I've isolated it by double clicking, and you can see we're in that group on our own. So we can click away, click outside, we can double click on this, and now we are working strictly on this object's group. So we can do things like go to the fill tool, and just go to the lines, click this to be black and click on that. Now we've changed the lines to a black line and we're working strictly on this level. So I'll go to select tool and click back, and now you can see we have our tool orders. So it's really important to actually work in that way, so you can always group objects like that. Alright, so that's how you can group objects and sort them in the same level. It's really going to save you a lot of headaches. And if you really want to work on an object on its own, for example, if I want to, cut out sections of this, I can just use the cut tool and say cut from here to here, and then in between I want to make it transparent. So I'll just select that and set this to layer 0, and now we can see we have a nice little stylized shape with that edge. Cool. So that's how we can work with groups. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.